Hey, everybody, and welcome. Tonight or today or the morning, I don't know when you're listening to this, but anyway, while you're listening to this, we're having a conversation with Dan Smith from the Story of podcast. And I guess I should say now part of unfpod.com.
That's
Hey,
right.
Dan.
Yes. Hey, Bob. How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
It's been a while, my friend.
Yeah. So this was the longest pre-hit record session I've had with anybody. Normally, I'm just like, okay, let's not talk. We're just going to record and see where it goes. You and I went over. We're both having bad weather,
Yep.
and we're both like, hey, wait a minute. Anything could go to shit at any moment,
Really quickly.
really quickly. So if it happens, don't be mad. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Normally, I just say, let's go. I'm always
I'm
in a
honored, though.
hurry,
I'm honored.
apparently, so.
Yeah, it's good. That's
But
all right. Nothing wrong
Dan,
with
I
that.
met. Oh gosh, it's been probably about a year or so ago, maybe.
Just
Thereabouts.
about, yeah.
Yeah,
You
through.
came on, I think, the first season you came on of my show,
Oh, there you
and we
go.
did we did the Thunderbird episode.
Thunderbird. Thunderbird
Yep,
Wine.
episode 7, season 1. That was a
Yeah, there
fun
you
episode. That
go.
was good.
But
Yep,
I
yep.
can't remember if we connected through which
Matchmaker.
service. Matchmaker.
I think it was Matchmaker. Yeah, yeah. My
Okay.
wife was like, "What the hell are you doing on
Yeah. What are
Matchmaker?"
you
I was like,
doing
"No,
on
no,
Matt?
no,
Yeah.
no."
I don't
It's like, honey,
mention that here at home.
I was like, honey, I'm talking to Bob, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. What is this? What kind
yeah,
of site is this?
what are you doing talking to Bob on Matchmaker? Like, no, 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 you don't understand.
Yeah, really? Are you
It's all
leaving
good. We're
me?
recording. What?
So yeah, we
Which is
did
where
that,
I
and
believe
then
you met you met Jay Burke through there too, correct?
correct. Yeah, yeah.
Good guy.
So, but yeah,
I
we've
like
been
Jay.
in the Pato Gesto sphere here for a while,
Yep.
and have bounced around here and there. And I thought, hey, I want to check in with this guy and see how it's going. And that's what we're doing here tonight. This is a touch base. I'm just checking on you, making sure you're okay. I
Thanks,
feel like we're
man.
the
I
elderly.
appreciate
Are you doing all right in the new year?
it. Yeah. How you doing? How's the weather?
Is it okay? Is anybody hassling you?
Everybody, how's your
Um,
back doing?
yeah, exactly. My sciatica. Oh, but no, I just thought, hey, talk, and then I didn't even realize that you had all this stuff brewing with this connection to the UNF thing, and so well, now we're going to talk about that. So,
Nice. Very
but
good.
first, before we get to that, I should say the story of. So you decided to do a show called The Story of,
Yep.
and but why? That's
It's a
always
good
the
question, Bob.
question. Why?
It's a good question. Yeah. It started the idea started brewing during COVID, which I think, I think happened for a lot of people, right? I
Right.
mean, it was
Yeah.
just, what the hell are you going to do? And I kind of got this creative itch, and I wanted to create something. I wanted to like make something. And I used to be into art, in my younger days.
Hmm.
But I was like, oh, I don't really feel like drawing. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm a history teacher, and I like talking about history and weird shit. And I was like, shit, let me make a podcast. And then the next question was obviously, well, how the hell do I make a podcast? And then so
Yeah.
started researching that, came up with the idea. And originally, it was supposed to be me and a buddy of mine, Chris, who is another teacher that I work with. And then he decided, it was more important to go to college. So he went to go work on his master's. And I was like, well, forget you, man. Screw that. And
Education. You want more of it?
right, really, come on, man. You better yourself in life. Like, come on now. And then so I reached out to a couple of friends, Bill, who you met, who was on the show with you, and Joe, and we kind of started up. We had a guy named Mark, good friend of mine from a couple of years ago. He did the first season with us, and then he kind of branched off, and he's working on his own podcast now. And then we brought in my buddy Mike, and now we've got a new guy, Joe Camp. I don't know if you've met Joe Camp. I don't think you have yet. So there's
No.
5 of us, but it's nice. It's a revolving door. So if we can have anywhere up to 2, 3, 4, 5 or hosts at a time. But yeah, I mean, it was really just to create to kind of scratch a creative itch. and get out there and make something, and then just talk. I always say we're a bunch of schmucks that talk about weird shit, and
That's the tagline.
it
Schmucks and weird shit.
schmucks and weird shit, And then just recently, as you had mentioned, we hooked up with Unfiltered Studios Network, and we actually just got into them or got in with them last week. So this is actually Tuesday. I'm sorry, Tuesday. So it's relatively new. So you can find us and a whole bunch of other really, really good podcasts on unfpod.com. If anybody's interested, or if anybody's heard of Stupid History Minute, they're huge over on Good Pods, and there's a bunch of us. There's about 12, 13 of us on there right now. It's great place. So if you head over there, you can find a ton of different podcasts that cover everything from history to interview shows, support shows. So it's cool. It's great group of people. Great set of podcasts.
You said support shows. What give me a definition of a support show?
So I'm glad you asked. Mama D, Pedals of Support, is an amazing podcast. It's put out by Mama D, and she essentially provides it's Pedals of Support, hosted by Mama D. It's a podcast that it provides advice and support from a mom. So if you're just looking for that motherly advice and that motherly voice and that motherly love, there it is. Like, there's your podcast, and it's amazing. Yeah, I picked up a lot of advice over the last couple of months from Mama D. She's all over the place. So yeah, it's good. So that would be my definition of a support podcast. So you need some motherly advice. There it is.
First thing I thought was technical support, because emotionally, I only get emotional grief. I never get emotional support from anyone. So I figured that's why I just went right to the technical. I'm like, they tell you how to fix things.
And there's the niche, right? There's the niche. There it is.
Yeah.
There's the emotional support, and it tells you how to fix yourself. So so yeah, definitely highly recommended if you're out there. And there's one of my favorite is how to be less of an asshole.
That's a great statement.
Yeah. It's a great podcast. I feel like everybody should listen to that. I walk away and I'm like, man, I really am an asshole.
I mean, this could be a short checklist, but not to be less of an ass. I guess less of an asshole is the key part there, right? So
I
it's
agree.
Not saying you
100%.
Can't be an ass in some regards. It's
Sure.
Maybe you need to soften it up a bit.
Dial it down. Normally,
exactly,
mine goes to 11, right? So, let's bring it down to a 6 or so.
So I'm gonna loop back here a little bit to the story of. So you say, "Hey, I want to do something." Now we've created. So essentially, your title is a lead-in. So I'm assuming,
yes,
and you can tell me if it's wrong. But the story of, and then you come up with a topic.
Yeah, and mainly the idea was to not really kind of pigeonhole ourselves, and it really just allow us to kind of go wherever we want and talk about whatever we want. And we do it in a very diplomatic way, in a very democratic way. We started off with just it was kind of time consuming at first, but when there was like 3 or 4 of us, we would all bring 3 topics to the table. And then we would vote on those 3, depending, I guess it would be 12 altogether. And then, whittle it down. And then, all right, these 4 made it to the next round. And then from those 4, we would choose, and then we'd come up with the topic. And we'd do that like on a weekly basis. And the premise of the show, which I probably should have said first, is once we choose
weird shit.
Yeah. Beyond the schmucks and weird shit is, what I really liked about it is, what I like about the concept is we choose the topic and then we do all of our own research. I hate that after COVID. I did my own research. But we do our own research individually. We don't talk about anything that we have found until we record. So we don't know what path. Yeah. So it's a fresh conversation about it. And, we're free to go whatever rabbit hole you want. You just go down that rabbit hole. And if that's where it took you, that's where it took you. And we'll hit it somewhere along in the conversation.
Yeah.
And so, we don't pre-discuss anything. It's just come on up and let's go through what we found, and see where it goes.
Involved in it, I want to say that you guys are good researchers, and I always feel totally inadequate when I've been on the show because I'm like, my God, these people actually researched all this probably for hours.
Well, I'm not gonna lie though. I have my good weeks and my bad weeks. I'm not gonna lie. Like I do a lot of my research at school when I have my planning period, when I should be actually planning for my classes.
Well, you could
And
be. I mean, if
you
it's
know,
a story of, you said you're a history teacher,
technically,
Gettysburg, then you're doing both.
sure, absolutely. Well, one episode we brought on Mr. Beat, which if anybody's familiar with history YouTubers, Mr. Beat is like top of the line. Dude is
Mm.
amazing. He has just such incredible in-depth knowledge about stuff. And we did the Philippine American War, which was great because I was teaching the Philippine American War about 2 weeks from that episode. So, it was fresh in the head. So technically, I was doing my job.
Yeah, you were
So,
doing double duty there. You're double dipping.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
and that
Yeah.
that's the fun part about it. We don't know where it's going to go, and everybody, all the co-hosts on the show, we've all known each other. I've known all of them for God at this point 27 years or more.
Oh my
So
Lord.
we go back. Joe Camp that just joined the show. We met in 6th grade. Bill, who you met, and Joe.
Mhm.
I've known Bill for God. It's got to be like 32 years at this point.
My God, you don't
So
even look like you're 35. Holy moly.
I appreciate that. My back says differently.
My sciatica.
Oh
The
man, man.
but you do very in depth, and then when I was on there, we talked about I've been on two, I think. I did Thunderbird, and then I did Badasses.
Yes, that's right.
Which
History's forgotten badasses.
yeah, I felt prepared for Thunderbirds, and I felt ill prepared for Badasses. Um, then you kind of get into the particulars. I mean, there's a little bit. I won't say that you're fighting necessarily, but you know, one person goes in one direction, the other person goes the other, and then you kind of have to, go through the process of,
Sure.
well, this is what I found out, and I don't
Yep.
think that I think you were just looking on Wikipedia, and it's all effing wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've we've certainly come across that a few times. And it's funny because we each kind of play a different role. And it was not planned out this way. So I'm the history teacher. So, I go into the context, and I really love the contextualization, the smaller story within the big story. Bill brings the kind of your common man, blue collar worker view.
Mhm.
Joe works his hardest to stay middle ground as much as possible.
Mhm.
Mike is out there but skeptical. Mike is a pharmacist, so he comes with a medical kind of background.
Oh, okay.
And Joe
Wow.
Camp, our newest co-host, is a chemistry teacher and a former adjunct professor in chemistry. So he takes the scientific approach. So we
Oh, yeah.
we have so many different views coming in. So and I believe I'm out there. So I've got a few skeptics, and we argue about Bigfoot and aliens, and I tell them that they're wrong, and but
So
yeah,
you're
I
on
like
you're
the
on the
fact.
side that there are big feet
Absolutely,
and aliens.
100%. Yes,
Yeah.
and I've thoroughly convinced my students as well. In fact,
Shaping the minds of America.
so every week I'll give my students a check-in, and it's literally like, hey, let me just check in with you. It's always basic 4 questions. How are you? How was your week? What's the coolest thing you learned this week in like life? It doesn't have to be in my class, just whatever.
Mhm.
Just give me something you learned, and then I'll throw out like a random question. What's a movie that everybody should see? Just kind of lighten up the mood a little bit. And one of the kids, what was the coolest thing that you learned? And his answer was that Bigfoot was real. And I was like, oh shit. It's like they're
I'm gonna get
listening.
a call. I'm getting a call.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So yes, I am the one that fully pushes the the cryptozoological beliefs.
Agenda.
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. So I
Well,
love
it's
the
fun
Thunderbird
though.
episode. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh, I love the Thunderbird. Come on. I'm actually with you. I'm totally in. We would have no opposition of it. Yeah, you're right, Dan. You're right. These people,
yeah,
they're all wrong.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
But it's cool that you ask them a question like that. I think that is so fun as a teacher to me. Just when you said that, I'm like, this is the best thing ever because kids going to school. School is not fun for children typically,
No,
and
typically not.
if you have a teacher that's going to ask, well, what do you like, as
Yeah.
opposed to did you get your effing homework done and all this other stuff. I mean, you're opening a door there, because then that says, this is about you rather than about
Yeah.
taking tests and so forth. I think that's fantastic. I want to
Yeah.
compliment you on that.
I appreciate it, and that's the thing too, is that without the students, obviously, then I'm just some weird guy standing in the middle of an empty room talking, right? And that's
With a
weird.
lot of desks.
Yeah, right. That's just like a weird thing, and so it feels almost like podcasting, right?
Yeah.
But I make the class about them as much as I can. Look, I always tell everybody that students come in and they're a locked door, right? They have their door locked, and I tell my kids this all the time. I said, you have no reason to trust me, none at this moment, and my job is to get you to trust me, that I'm here to help you, not here to hurt you. And once you can get a kid to unlock that door and let you in, they'll let you teach them. And that's really what it comes down to. And once they allow you to teach them, that's when the learning occurs, right? So you do it,
Yeah.
things just checking in. Like Fridays too, we always have good news, bad jokes. So we'll do, we'll just share some good news. We'll end the week off on a positive note, and then I hit him with as many horrible dad jokes as I can. And I think the dad jokes are really funny, so I'm up there laughing really hard, and they're all like, "This guy's crazy." And but it's funny because every once in a while you'll get a kid who does like the rim shot, and so like he'll have his computer there, and he boom, or if it falls flat, the kid will have the wah 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 wah. It's like, I love it. It's happened a few times in different classes, and the creativity is awesome. So
that's funny.
But yeah,
and then the kids are going, I bet he's got a podcast. That's what they're saying in the back. This guy's he's probably got a podcast.
I've mentioned to a few of them that I do, and I've actually kind of toned it down a bit, because they were like, I want to hear the podcast. But we, Bob, you've been on there. We curse quite a bit.
Right,
so, and I don't
bit,
need, I don't need the podcast playing, right? And then some kids' parents be like, yo, who was that? Like, oh, that's my social studies teacher. Like, that's not a good look.
My history teacher. He said fucking 1776.
Yeah. So I used to tell him, I said, look, man, when you graduate high school, soon as you get your diploma, I always work graduation day. I said, when you get your diploma, you come on up to me and I'll give you the name of the podcast, right? But you can't share it with anybody. And I've had a few that have come up and they remembered, and they're like, all right, got my diploma. What's the podcast then? Like, all right, buddy.
That's funny. Well, it's kind of a neat, a neat reward, and it's kind of like coming of age kind of a situation.
Sure. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're saying, well, this is a little bit R-rated, so until you get to a certain age, you can't deal with it there.
And actually, oddly enough, one of my kids, former baseball player of mine, I used to be a baseball coach, former student. We still keep in contact. Now he has, I think, 2 kids now, and so we exchange pictures of our kids. We still text to each other, but he's like one of our biggest fans. He comments on like all the episodes. Oh, wow. It's amazing, and he's like, "Oh, I want to come on." I'm like, "I got no problem. Let's do it, man."
This is a new multi-level marketing podcast scheme. You become a teacher and you indoctrinate all your students.
That's it. I got the pyramid scheme going.
Yeah. You're worse than McDonald's and all those toys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I think actually our season 2 episode 6 was Skinwalkers. And that was actually a viewer request from that student. He was like, "Yo, you got to do Skinwalkers." And I was like, "All right." So
that's
cool.
So
that episode was dedicated to Nas. Nas, that one's for you, kid.
So you do quite a wide variety of topics. We've talked, probably just because my Thunderbird situation there, but talked about those kind of things. But give me the breadth of topics that you're dealing with, because it's not just paranormal-ish stuff.
No, we've done, one of my favorite was episode 3 was towns abandoned for weird and fucked up reasons. So we just looked at like these weird towns that were abandoned, like in Pennsylvania. That there's a town that that the coal's burning underground. We have there was a town up in Alaska that was abandoned because people kept getting killed by big. and so they
Oh,
bolted
right.
from
Yeah,
there.
I've seen that. I can't remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I do know that.
that was on that episode. We did a 4-part episode on the Salem witch trial. So then we go back to, we can do, history. We did an episode on the Alpha Boys School in Kingston, Jamaica, which is where so much of modern day ska has come from, ska music. And reggae all came from that one school. So some of the greatest, ska and reggae artists came from this one particular school that was put together by Catholic nuns. So that was a cool story. We did Nazano Island, excuse me, Bob,
That's all
also
right.
known as Cannibal Island, Willowbrook State Hospital. We did one last on the Long Island serial killer. Now, myself and all of my co-hosts are from Long Island, so that one was a little bit close for home. And then we had done that. God, I would say like March of maybe like February of 2023. And then over the summer, they caught him. And so I was like checking my numbers one day on Spotify, and the podcast blew up. We had like 900 listens over like the span of a couple of weeks. Like it totally blew up. And I was like, damn, dude. So yeah, we cover a ton of stuff. We've done an episode on idioms, odd jobs, sports scandals, time travel. I mean, you name it, assassinations, hits and misses. We called that one. I thought that was that's a good name. Giants. So, I mean, we had 2 people from the Satanic Temple come on and tell us what Satanism is. And just, they told us the story. Yeah, so, I mean, just you name it. And that was the beauty of calling it the story of, was that we can go anywhere with it. Like I said, we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves. The ability to look at a whole bunch of different things. So
yeah, you'll eventually get down to the. It's the story of my paper towel holder in the kitchen.
Well, technically, if you want that, you can go to Stupid History Minute. Stupid History Minute is amazing. That is with Kev Pound. And he does, obviously, it's stupid history in a minute, but he gives you the history of everyday items. So, yes. And actually, I just guessed it for him. And my episode, I think, comes out on the 16th, on January 16th. We did the Stupid History Minute of lava lamps. So it's the 1 minute history of lava. And I love lava lamps.
What's inside those things? Did you find
that? It's wax. It's wax and like a special oil inside. That when it heats up, it's a coil in the bottom, and the coil heats up and it melts the wax, and the wax travels up through the oil.
That must be one of the higher end ones. I've seen the ones where it's just a light bulb down there.
Well, yeah, so it's got the light bulb, but if you ever look very closely at a normal lava lamp, in the bottom of it, there's a metal coil, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. And I happen to be a lava lamp connoisseur. My wife says I have a problem. I've got about 13 of them.
Okay.
And I've got 8 of them in my classroom. So when you walk in, I've got 8 lava lamps. I've got an old science classroom, so I've got like this really cool counter on the side of my room, and so I got 8 lava lamps all lined up. I got some LED lights behind it, so it's there's a little bit of a vibe in my classroom. So all the stoners walk in, they're like, "Hey, man."
So, you still got all the gas lines run, so you can hook up the.
No, they unhooked those. No, the gas lines are off. They used to be there. I had them taken out, but the gas lines and the water lines are all taken out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You could have got lucky with that if it happened. Now on the lava lamp, some of them, I don't know if it's the cheaper ones, they basically have a bottle cap on the top of them. So the top of it is like a regular, well, I guess now an old school bottle, and then you have a cap on it.
Yep, still same.
I wonder
same thing.
why. I guess that was just because it was cheap.
Probably cheap. We didn't get into that part of the history, but probably cheap, and it's certainly airtight. So when you pop that on, it's going to keep obviously all your liquid in there and keep the air in there. I mean, if you ever seen like an old school Coke bottle from like the 60s, that shit's still, it's still locked up. That's not coming off.
Yeah, I know. I used to have collectible bottles in the 80s. I live in Illinois then, and the University of Illinois had a whole thing going on. Anyway, I had those things for probably a couple decades, and everything inside was kind of like coming apart as far as all the Coca-Cola was separating, but the
separate.
It was kind of nasty. You shake it, there's all kinds of floaters in there, but it was interesting as well. It was kind of like a weird decade, a couple decades long decomposition in a bottle.
Yeah.
But have you ever opened? Did you open up the lava lamp and talk about like? I mean, if that stuff gets on your carpet, it's ruined.
Yeah, no, it's I've never opened one, but I imagine I've knocked a few over. But yeah, if that ever gets out on your stuff is done. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's the oil
As
in there is
kids,
no
we
good.
had one and got broken because of rough housing, and parents weren't very happy,
No, I
to
can
say the
imagine.
least. So, have you ever
Ju-
had? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say just to let you know your voice is kind of crackling a little bit,
Okay, that's
so
what I need to
just give you a heads
know.
up. There it
It's
is.
weird. I'm gonna switch something real quick and then switch back, and you tell me if it changes. I'm
Let's see
talking.
if it's the weather.
Any change?
Yep, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. See, I told you it's a weird thing in
Okay.
StreamYard.
It's doing
The
it, Bob.
if it starts again, let me know.
I got you.
So have you had any stories that you're like, a story of something and you're like, this wouldn't, just didn't cut the mustard? Have you given up on any stories?
No, well, we were not in that sense. We were going to do after we did the Long Island, we were going to do a couple of stories on serial killers. All right. And
Mm.
I started looking into Albert Fish, and I'm not sure if are you familiar with Albert Fish?
No, I'm not.
Albert
Uh-uh.
Fish in the early 20th century was a prolific child murderer, like bad, like
Oh, that's
really, really
great.
bad. Yeah,
That's
like
good.
really awful. Like the nickname was like the Gray Man, like it was like bad. And
Yeah.
so I'm going down this rabbit hole and I'm researching, Albert Fish, and I'm listening to other podcasts and I'm just reading up on him. And I'm a new dad. My son is 3, and
Mhm.
I found myself not being able to do much research. Like I had to kind of stop a little bit and step back, and and so we nixed that. We were like, yeah, I don't know if we want to go that dark.
Well, the
Um,
funny thing to me listening is the Satanists, okay. Child killer, maybe not.
yeah, it's yeah, that's where we kind of like
Oh,
we cut the line there, and then we were gonna do one on Unit 731 was a Japanese I don't know, like experimentation unit that was
mhm.
known for committing like the most notorious war crimes of World War II.
Okay.
And it was just so brutal, like so bad that like we were like like again we didn't want to go that far into it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like we don't normally shy away from blood and gore and stuff like that. Like we have 2 episodes on cannibalism. That was okay, that one made the cut. But
Mm.
it was just like I don't know, it just there were some topics where we were kind of just like I don't think we want to go there, like are we talking about child killers for the sake of talking about child killers? Like, do we really need to
Right,
give this guy
right.
anotm platform? But yeah, those are
So
really the only ones that we kind of
is it
strayed away
voted
from.
out or is it can one person
Just
tap out or
discussions.
okay.
Yeah, no, it's and that's the cool part about my co-host and I is that if one person brings up like hey, I'm not really sure about this, then we'll all just kind of talk about it and we'll just discuss it. And it could come to one or two things. We always give the option, hey guys, I'm not really comfortable doing this one. You
Mhm.
guys can go ahead and do it without me if you want. That's cool, totally no problem.
Mhm.
And then we've always opted to just say no, let's keep the team in, and let's do
Oh,
it.
okay.
Let's
Well,
let's
that's
let's roll
nice.
from there. And
So it's got to be hard coordinating everybody. I mean, you've got, you know, I do it. I do a regular show with my co-host Miles,
Miles,
and
yep,
I can hardly keep him in line, let alone two other Miles people. You know what I mean? So
yep,
how does that work? I mean, do you guys have a routine? Do you have, is
yeah.
there like a flow chart where you're like, hey, wait a minute, got to follow the flow chart?
Little bit of both. Yeah, so we try to record Fridays. So our ideal day to record is Fridays, usually around 9 o'clock. And normally what we can do, we do seasons, so we don't podcast through the whole year. And so we because we realize we don't want to get burned out, all that type of stuff. But yeah, we try to do Fridays, and until we can get a bunch in the bank, right, and we can start editing those and knocking those, start pumping those out week by week. Ideally, we get to the every other week, which is great. We're still at the beginning of season 3, so we're still banking every Friday. I think I rescheduled tonight's recording for Sunday night because I was with you, Bob. And
thank you. I'm glad
yeah,
I threw everything into a tizzy and everyone hates
No,
me.
it's okay. You know what? Because I'm off on Monday, so I was like, "Hey, let's do it on Sunday."
Right. Yeah,
And they were all like, "Yeah." So
happy Dr. Martin Luther King Day, everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. And but yeah, it's Fridays is normally our recording day. We record at 9:00. We've been trying to record at 8 because my internet is so bad that right around 9:01, it just for whatever reason it stops working. Tonight it's been good.
Everybody gets on for their nightly,
yeah,
searching for companionship.
Yes, they're explicit searches. Yes. So, but yeah, so normally, and that's the nice thing about having 5 hosts is that if 2 can't make it, or 3 can't make it, or 1 can't make it, we've got enough to run a show. And so, it's nice. And they actually, the episode that's dropping this coming Tuesday, which I believe is the 16th, is the first ever Story of podcast episode without me. And I was very happy about that. Joe Camp and Mike were able to get on. Their episode is about the Goldilocks zone within a solar system.
Yeah.
And and I haven't listened to it. Like I will listen to it just like everybody else will. And but I was super happy that they were able to do that. Because I always feel bad, like, hey, if I can't make it, I don't want there to not be a recording, right? So go ahead. Right. Feel free, like, please go.
You got to get the machine up and running so that it can run with anybody.
Absolutely.
That's the idea, right?
Yeah, and they're always like, it's your show, and I'm like, that's not. Like, it's our show. Like, I invited everybody on. It's all of ours. It's our babies. We all work. We all do what we need to do. And so it's like I said, we've all been friends for 25 to 30 years or more. So, and we're all dads. So it's It is what it is, but we get it going, and yeah, we generally have a nice, every Friday type thing, and it's, secretly too, it's a way for me to go hang out with, all my friends that I haven't seen in a long time, because I'm in North Carolina, they're all in New York. I don't get to see them very often.
A disparate location is what my question was going to be. Then you just answered it, so that
there it is.
You're all in different places and all in the same time zone, I guess. So that's good.
Yeah, so we're all on the East Coast, which helps out certainly. And you've been on, so we use Discord. I actually just I asked them today if they were interested in going to StreamYard. And they said, let's hold off for a little while. And we'll see what happens.
Everything all the time, Dan, for Christ's sake.
I'm an agent of change, Bob. That's what I do. Come on now. I'm a teacher. Yeah. Gotta evolve.
So, but no, that's fantastic. So everybody gets along, which is great. And so as far as that goes, so what do you think, like, well, obviously you're looking toward the future. I put up the UNF pod thing.
Sure.
So, this is something new, and I want to get to that, but I want to jump a little further ahead and say, is there a roadmap? Do you have anything planned out beyond the year? No?
Nope. I mean, the most we've got is we've got the rest of our topics chosen for this season. And then, like I said, we take the summer off, we recharge, and we come back. And, I always offer it up. I say at the end of the season, guys, thank you so much for everything you've done. If you are interested in coming back for next season, you've got your seat. If not, it's all good. It's no problem. You guest host whenever you want. My buddy Mark, who was on for the first season, he walked, like I said, he left. But, we told him his seat's always there. Whatever you want to come back on, man, it's all yours, So, but yeah, I mean, other than that, we don't monetize. I guess, we could if we want, but my wife was like, you're not giving your social security number and your bank account to anything. So it's not happening.
Well, that's a point of discussion here. So I don't monetize either. We don't monetize Miles, and I don't monetize really for anything. Now, I will tell you, we have in the past.
Have you? All right. So what was your experience with it? Did it work for you? Was it?
Well, because
obviously you're not doing it anymore. So
no. Well, because it's gone. But so we were part of Mevio, if you remember Mevio at all,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
which was Adam Curry's company that he came up with, and this would be back in 2007, 2008,
Okay.
something like that. I could look back and find out. I can't remember. It's been a while. And we
Hold
did
on,
that for a
you're
while.
crackling again, Bob.
Oh God. Well, I don't know if you should go for a StreamYard on this thing. No. No, maybe, maybe not. Maybe so.
Now we're good.
Better.
Yep.
Okay. I think it's a me thing, unfortunately. So yeah, we were on Mevio for a while, and then Mevio kind of ceased to exist. I don't remember if he sold it or it changed into something else, and they changed everything, and so we just got lost in that.
Gotcha.
So we did that for a while back in 2007, 2008 or whatever, and it was fine, but that was not. I mean, now is different than then, as
Sure.
it were. And so it was a way different time and so forth. So, but after that experience, it wasn't a terrible experience. It just wasn't. There's something to doing it for yourself that's
Sure.
different than doing it because you have to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree. And it's, it's a labor of love, and I, like I just get enjoyment out of doing it. And sure, would it be nice to make a couple bucks? Yeah, of course. But that's never been the goal over here, was to monetize or to make any money from it. It's, it is what it is, right? It's just it's a way to connect with my buddies, put out some content, have some fun, and see if anybody wants to listen to a bunch of schmucks that talk about weird shit.
Yeah.
And
That's
seeing that
fun.
happen. Yeah, that's what gives me my jollies, right? Is like, oh shit, people, like, I think we've been heard, and I mean, look at podcasting, I mean, this was 500 million podcasts out there right now.
Right.
So it's
We're
it's not a
close.
crazy thing. Yeah, something, right? And so it's not a crazy thing. I mean, we've been heard in like 60 countries or something like that. But like that's not nuts to think about that, since there are so many podcasts out there.
Well, yeah, and
But
I mean,
that's cool.
you're of a certain age that I'm sure when you were younger, and I'm not, you already revealed your age, so.
I am 41 and my back is 62. So there we go.
Whenever you were a kid, you would have never, ever, ever thought, I'm going to do something that someone in another country across the other side of the world is going to listen to.
Yeah. That was never on my radar at all. Never at all. So,
That's
something like that.
You know,
That's the paycheck, man. Like that's
right.
that's the cool part. Absolutely.
Exactly. You're like, wow. It just boggles the mind. I don't know if maybe kids growing up now, since this is all possible, and I won't say easily possible because it's not really that easy.
No,
it's easier
learning
every
curve.
day, but it's not so easy to. The self determination part of it is not the easy part.
Yeah, the discipline.
These little tools and things like that. That's the easy part. But
sure.
that these things won't be as quite as neat. I mean, what will be the neat thing in the future? I don't know, but this is pretty neat right now. So
sure,
you're on the UNF pod thing, and
yep.
So one of my questions, although you kind of answered it already, was is being part of that now going to be the grind? But it sounds like since it's still not a monetization situation, then it might not be.
Well, they actually mentioned that they've got some things in the works down the road. They didn't go into specifics, but there is a possibility if you choose to opt in. They are looking for ways to help monetize shows, which is really cool. And so it's they whether it be advertisements, host spoken advertisements, but I mean which that's the cool part about Unfiltered Studios is it's the cool part about the indie podcasting community itself is it's as altruistic as I've ever seen anything. Like we all realize, look, we're up, none of us are Rogan, right? And we're kind of all up against Rogan. I mean, let's be honest. And there's, again, the millions of podcasts out there. And that's the cool part about, the indie podcasting community is so many people are like, yo, it doesn't matter I will promote your show,
Mhm.
and on my feed I'll promote your show, and that's cool. I got no problem doing that because hey, it's you are doing the same thing that I'm doing, and we're just
Mhm.
trying to get our show out there, and UNF Pod has certainly they're legit, man. Like it's good people. There's like a little bit of a process. You fill out an application, and then
Mhm.
there's like an interview. So like they set you up with the leadership in StreamYard, and we did like an interview. And they had some questions for us, and we passed the interview, but it was cool. Like it was like a thorough, like we want to know the people that we are going to promote, because once you are in, they are going to go and promote you with everything they've got.
Mhm.
And that's been really cool. And it's like a little family, legit is. And they're good people, and we're really excited to be a part of it. And and it was funny because I brought it up to the guys, and they were like, ah, man, I don't know. And I was like, guys,
Mhm.
like I'm the guy that's been doing the PR for the past 2 years,
Mhm.
and promoting the show, and I've gotten to know all of these other podcasters. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm telling you guys, there's no gotcha. There's nothing here. We're not. No one's trying to screw us. I promise you. Like this is the indie podcasting community. Literally, I mean, they have each other's backs pretty well, and that's the cool thing about UNF Pod is that they're like they call it a family, and just being in for a week, I can see why it makes perfect sense to me. So
Oh, that's
they're
great. That's good to
yeah,
hear.
it's been a very good
Yeah.
experience.
And I love the way you talked about the indie. So always, even though we had a little stint in the
Hmm.
movie for a while, we've always been fairly independent, and
Sure.
I always liked that, and I like the independence of it because then you kind of just do what you want.
Yep.
And and I think that's important. And you mentioned Rogan, and I'm so aggravated having been doing this for so long. Not that I'm supposed to be the Rogan or something, but I'm so aggravated that it's so easy for the public to go with
Yeah.
someone who's already established. And Rogan tries to
Yes.
play that he's not. I'm an
Hmm.
outsider like you guys. No, he's not. He had a hit TV show called Fear Factor. He was
Yes.
on news radio. He did stand up.
UFC. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
yeah.
he's established. He's an
Sure.
established entertainment person. That the whole idea, I think, back at the beginning was it was supposed to be for independent people
Yes.
who don't have um,
The platform.
the backing and the money of the entertainment industry. And
Yep.
now here we are, all these years later, and guess what? You know,
And there it is.
look
And
where we
and
are.
and
Yeah.
look, I mean, and that's the great thing about podcasting itself is that anybody can do it. Literally. I mean,
Hmm.
anybody can do it if you can just figure out editing tools and all that stuff. And look, if I can figure out how to do it, anybody can do it. But you're absolutely right though, because now and I'm not trying to, I don't know, as the kids say, I'm not trying to throw shade. Look, anybody can do it, and everybody's free to do it. But
Yep.
yeah, there is, I don't know if resentment is the right word, right? But like every celebrity has their own podcast now,
Yep.
and as soon as
Hmm.
they're just because of their name, they publish, and then bam, a
Right.
million
It's
downloads
up.
in a
Right.
day.
And there's been
And
a
it's
lot of
just
people like yourselves and so forth who are doing these things that aren't getting that attention because they don't
sure.
have that name recognition.
Yeah, they don't have the
And
brand, right?
yeah, and so yeah, I mean it is what it is. But I'm always a little bit, I don't know. I would think it would be the same because oddly enough, a lot of people I meet on podcasting were in bands, right?
Mm,
They were in
hmm.
indie bands, and then they do this as they've moved on to other things because it's hard to be an indie band for your whole life, right? So they
Sure.
have, get into the regular society, and then they want to do something creative, and they do a podcast because
Yeah,
they're familiar with a lot of the equipment and everything, and so it becomes an outlet for them.
sure.
And it's the same thing with indie bands. It's always sad to see some nothing against Taylor Swift or anything, but to see Taylor Swift as this mega thing, and there's so many other great things that are out there that people are just missing.
Yeah,
And so it
absolutely.
sounds like what you're describing with the UNF thing is they're trying to bring up and give a little
Hmm.
punch to things that
Sure.
maybe most people would not get they wouldn't see, they wouldn't hear, they
Yeah,
wouldn't have
absolutely.
access to it.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
fantastic.
yeah, it certainly is, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be part, the Unfiltered Studios network. They're awesome. It's been cool, and it's like like exactly like you said, it's like I was telling my guys, I said, guys, really, what this is, we're going to be doing the same exact thing that we've been doing, but we've got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more firepower, right? We've got a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more firepower to get our podcast out there a little bit further, and just in the first week alone, and like same thing, just like you mentioned, it's a labor of love. So sure, I'm a very competitive person. Do I want to see listens? Do I want to see downloads? Of course, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. That's not the end all be all of everything, but I will say, after just a week, it certainly has helped. Absolutely, it certainly has
Oh,
helped.
that's good.
So yeah, I mean, it's been good, and I can't ask for anything more. I really can't. It's there is no restrictions whatsoever. And they just, all freedom speech, man. They just do what you do, and
You're
it's
not
been
not
very
going to get any notes. Dan,
no show notes. There's no
could you do
nothing like
some
that.
more crypto topics, possibly?
Yeah, no, none of that. And it's great because, essentially what they do is you fill out the application and they go and they listen to your show. And they see, like, and they're like, obviously, you've got, I don't know, viewership is the word, but you've been around, and you've, your show's gotten out there a bit. And
Mhm,
so, what's the need to change anything? There's no need, just
mhm.
be you, do what you do, and we'll just promote the hell out of you. And that's kind of what they've been doing. And it's been good. So
And be
no
like, I'm
complaints.
not. I'm not telling you what to do, Dan, but story of Krispy Kreme donuts, perhaps.
God, they're so good. Oh, they're so good. There's and in
That's the
fact,
next
the
thing you know.
the first ever Krispy Kreme donut shop is not that far away from me. Actually,
Right in North Carolina, right?
yeah,
So,
it's like 40
yeah,
minutes away from my house, man. Oh my God, they're so good.
that's
Yeah,
fantastic. I
yeah,
didn't even realize I had that tangent in there, but now that you said it, I'm like, wow, look at
yeah,
that prescience.
yeah.
In the back of my mind, I was thinking about that.
Hmm.
Um, well, Dan, I want to thank you for talking to me tonight.
Yeah, buddy.
Do you want to say anything else, or talk about
No, except
where people can find you, or is anything coming up that you want people to know about?
before I do that, I do notice behind your shoulder, Bob, you've got a picture of Stonehenge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, my mother's ashes are spread at Stonehenge.
How'd you do that?
I probably broke a lot of laws, I
Yeah,
think.
you
I'm pretty
did.
sure I did. But
You shouldn't
it's a
admit to that. This was
I
this was
know.
technically just a fantasy for him.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, I mean, it's already there. They can't do anything now, right?
well, I
Um,
probably walked on him because I took that picture.
and I've got quite a few pictures over there. It's an interesting story. My mom passed away in 2019. She had spread her mother's ashes and my cousin and my uncle's ashes at a place called the Cliffs of Moher over in England. I'm sorry, not
I
England,
went
in
there
Ireland.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
beautiful,
Ireland.
right?
Yeah,
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 and
it's
over on
beautiful.
the west side of Ireland. So
Hmm.
right after my mom passed, my wife and I decided we needed to get my mom's ashes there, right? To get her
Hmm.
spread, the place where she spread her mother. So
Hmm.
we ended up booking a trip to Europe with the it was like a European cruise.
Hmm.
And we started off in England and we went back and forth between Ireland, Scotland. We went to Guernsey and then we ended off in France. But the
Hmm.
first place that we flew into was England, and so we had a day that we could hang out there before we went onto the cruise, and we went and we visited Stonehenge, and I had actually the hoodie I'm wearing now inside my front pocket. I had my mom's ashes. So as we were walking, it's almost like oh my gosh, what's that?
Great escape.
Yes, it's exactly like the Great Escape. So as we were walking, I was just kind of like I took the arm out and just got. So anytime I see Stonehenge, I go, hey, that's my mom. That's where mom
Yeah,
is. And
Stonehenge is on one side. I have aliens from Roswell on the other side of my head,
nice,
and then you
considering
can't
that the aliens
tell.
from Roswell built Stonehenge. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there you go.
It works
Yeah,
out
there's the
perfectly.
crew, and there's the result. And you
Yeah.
can't see it above my head, but that is Van Meter, Iowa, where the Van Meter visitor
Ooh, okay, very nice, very
Was
nice.
yeah, and I actually
But
took all those pictures. I went to all those
very
places. So
that it's yeah, I got a lot of really good pictures of Stonehenge, a lot of good pictures, a lot of places from in Europe, which was cool. It was a good trip.
yeah, the Cliffs of Moher
But
is
it's
just wild. Yeah, wild.
yeah. Oh God, it's so beautiful, so beautiful. We
Hmm.
ended up we took the last bus there, and so they were like, "There's no buses back," and we were like, "Oh," and we stayed in the same bed and breakfast that my mother had stayed in,
Hmm.
and so that was really cool too. But we were like, "Oh, we'll just walk back," and 14 miles later, my wife was so pissed. She was so
Yeah,
mad. But we
I
walked
know.
the entire length of the Cliffs of Moher. It was so gorgeous. It
Yeah,
was unbelievable. The green there is a different green.
it
It's just a
is. Yeah,
different green.
Emerald Isle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's so
Um,
beautiful. Yeah, everyone should have the opportunity. I think
yeah,
the if you don't have the means, I wish that everybody had the opportunity
yeah,
though,
100%.
because it gives you a different perspective, and I got lots of stories from doing it as well.
Yeah, it
uh,
definitely is. But
yeah,
but going back to your original question, yeah, I mean, we're excited to be part of the UNF Pod, the Unfiltered Studios Network. We will be releasing. We are in the middle of season 3. We're back for the second half, for the back half of season 3. Generally, unless there are some technical difficulties, you can find our episodes. They drop every Tuesday at 12:01 a.m. And yeah, I mean, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Good Pod, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. So wherever you find your podcast, you'll find the story of. And yeah, we just like I said, we just love. We're a bunch of schmucks that talk about weird shit. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you'll like our show. And Bob, you're coming back. We haven't figured out the exact topic yet, but you will be back for season 3.
yeah. I
We're gonna
want to.
get you on.
Yeah, I'll take whatever you got. I don't. I'm not particular on any of that. So yeah, whatever you got, and
Yeah,
I'm
we
going to do better this time because I felt like last time I didn't do my research.
No, dude, your presence on the show and what you bring is just hilarious. So, but yeah, no, we're just excited to be back on the back half of season 3. And yeah, I mean, we're just excited. Again, if you're out there, you can find us at unfpod.com with Unfiltered Studios with a whole bunch of other amazing podcasts there. And any platform that you find your podcast on is where you're gonna find us. So
Well,
enjoy.
thanks, Dan. I
Yeah, buddy.
appreciate it. Everybody, check it out, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, but and thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Bob.